Jump in, Roman, please.
This was my first official hunt. Getting the shotgun, broke in, and we'll have to do her again soon. Have you seen the price of groceries lately? I'm not entirely sure what's going on in Canada or in the world for that matter. I find that we've got so much going on culturally and things are just constantly, we're being inundated with so much garbage, and there seems to be a relative attack on people who want to provide for themselves, whether it's farming or whether it's hunting. And it's super frustrating having just been introduced to both of these things, that I want to do these things. I want to provide food not only for my family, but for my friends and for as many people as I can. But farming is getting more and more expensive, and with more and more carbon taxes and things like that, it's just not cost effective to drive a tractor, to buy fertilizers and things like that. And I understand we are still a very small operation, but as you get into producing more and more food and attempt to produce more and more food, you find out that it's extremely hard to do so while more these large companies like Loblaws, and there are some big, huge companies that are making record profits off of it. And then, to top that all off, there are multiple gun bans now for Canadians, a lot of which are hunting firearms that many of my friends have. And I mean, for as much as it costs me to raise a chicken, one of these is a fraction of the cost. And yes, it may not, you don't get one with every shotgun shell, but still a fraction of the cost to be able to hunt, a little bit of skill involved to be able to hunt rather than raise an animal, to be able to live off the land, to be able to control populations. And I don't know, I was probably 15, maybe 14, 15 when I first started my fascination with firearms. And it was kind of fleeting. I didn't really think much about it. It was one of those, I bought an airsoft gun because nobody in my family hunted at the time. Actually, nobody in my family still hunts. And so I bought an airsoft gun, did my little whatever with that, and then for 10 years, I just was like, whatever, not really into it, did a little paintball. And it wasn't until I started raising my own animals that I was like, I need to be able to protect these things. I need to be able to protect my animals. I need to protect my farm, my livestock, and take care of them. And we had a couple of issues with raccoons and with weasels, and I really wanted to get a firearm, to get a gun, to be able to protect my animals. Just something, a small 22. And it took me 2 years to do so. For people who don't know what it takes to get a firearms license in Canada, I mean, you need a course, you need background checks. To get a restricted firearm, which is something like a handgun that's used for at ranges only or at certain competitions for sport shooting, it's a lot more strict for those firearms. But for simple shotgun, long gun, you still need the course, and you still need to have a possession and acquisition license. You still need to have a license in order to hunt, and then you need a hunting license on top of that. So I remember it took me 2 years, just COVID craziness, to be able to get the course, and then 6 months from applying for my PAL, the possession acquisition license, to be able to actually get that card, to get approved to be able to buy a firearm. And I remember I got it in the mail. And I was so excited that as soon as I got it, I told Nicole, I was like, we're going to Macadam. Like, we were going to the gun dealer and I'm buying a gun. I'm doing it. And we did. We drove the hour and a half to Macadam, and I picked out just a simple pump action shotgun. And I think it was, a week later, I had asked some buddies if I could go out hunting with them. I knew they did waterfowl hunting, and I went out and filmed with them. And then I knew nothing. I was just there to film. And they said, you need your waterfowl license, you need migratory birds license. So I got that. And then I was able to go out hunting with them the next time and film with them again. And man, it is so special to be able to use something like this, something so small but effective, to be able to provide for your family. Like, we raised 100 chickens this summer, and it was so much work. And then to be able to go out in the goose blind and be able to hunt some geese, and to be able to provide for my family very simply and very easily with a 12-gauge shot, with just a case of them. It is so much more powerful to me and impactful as somebody who's simply trying to provide for his family. And with the price of everything now, and with the price of groceries and the price of everything rising, it just makes more sense to be able to become self-sufficient. I want to make as little money as possible so I don't have to spend any out. And with gun bans and with more restrictions and law and just things that are changing all of the time in Canada, it's making it very difficult to be able to live self-sustainably. A lot of things, from living off grid to growing your own animals to just selling things off of your homestead or your hobby farm, it is restricted or restrictive. And it's frustrating when there are these laws that are being made, specifically in Ottawa, these vast decisions being made about people who live rurally in Canada. These laws are sweeping, and it is affecting people who want to hunt their own food. It's not necessarily for sport, although I think there's something very powerful in knowing how and being able to take a life, whether it's of a farm animal or hunting. That's something that I believe men need to be able to do. I think it's something that you need to harness and understand the power of what life and death is. Being able to hold in your hands the difference, specifically with a firearm, being able to hold in your hands the difference between life and death with a single shot is so powerful. And when we did our chickens, I did them all with a knife, and I did them by hand. And there's something just about being able to take a life, to know where that food comes from. I know my chickens were raised from, they were this big when I first got them. Raised them up, slaughtered them, and they're now in my freezer. And being able to hunt off the land, being able to track something, find something. I want to go deer hunting, I want to go bear hunting. To be able to harness that power, to live off of what we have here. We have a drilled well. To be able to live off our own water, to be able to fish our land, to live off fish and hunted foods is so very important. And it is a privilege that I feel that is being taken away from us because of these laws being made by people who don't know anything or about firearms, or don't know anything about, or have never handled a gun. And this spring, it was so funny because I thought it would be kind of null and a moot point. We were at a trade show in Toronto, and we just signed up. I'd never been. I still didn't have my PAL at the time. And we signed up as members to the CCFR, the Canadian Coalition for Firearm Rights. And I was like, oh, that's a cute thing to do. Why not? And anyway, signed up for their newsletter and became a member. And since then, it almost seems like every email, they send out a weekly newsletter and email, and it almost seems like every email that I get from the CCFR is one of bad news. It is a restriction on handguns, which are for sport. A legal handgun, I don't believe, has ever been used in a shooting in Canada. The restrictions here, I think because we're so close to the United States, people have a misconception about how easy it is to get a firearm here. It's not easy. You need background checks, and there are restrictions. You need licenses to be able to own these guns. And it just makes it difficult for legal firearm owners. I have so many friends who own firearms that are on the list, the new list of proposed prohibited firearms. They are shotguns. They are semi-automatic firearms that are to be used for hunting. That's what they're purchased for. That's their purpose. And we're being stricken down. We're having the right to own a firearm taken away. And in part, it's taking away our ability to provide for ourselves. If you're not allowed to own these firearms, or if you're not allowed to raise animals on your property or build your own house, for instance, there are so many rules that, yes, I understand they are in place to protect people. And I want to protect people, but I also want to protect my family. And with these sweeping laws and sweeping rules and things that are happening so quickly in Canada, it's making it so frustrating and more difficult for Canadians to be able to take care of their families. And I want to go into my kids' lives being able to tell them that they can still do the things, they can enjoy the things that their father enjoys. And right now, I'm not sure I'll be able to do that in Canada, and it's frustrating because I want to be able to have that kind of fun and have that kind of connection to our food that we should. And right now, I don't know that we're going to be able to have that.